So, what's the deal with the amazing digital circus? Hey guys, as you know, I'm a big indie animation fan. I find it incredibly fascinating as so many underrated artists are able to create some really unique stuff that doesn't need to hold itself back from any network restrictions, allowing 100% of the creator's vision to shine through. With one of my favourite indie animators being Dead Sound as an example, as his short films and shows are nothing but extraordinary, and a true testament to how all it takes is yourself to achieve something really great. So, when I got people hitting me up to recommend a new indie project, I certainly was interested. So, what was this indie show that everyone kept recommending I watch? Well, as you saw in the title, it was Amazing Digital Circus, created by Glitch, the same people who created SMG4, Meta Runners, and Murder Drones as well, with alongside Gooseworks. This certainly grabbed my attention, but I gotta be honest, I'm not that big a fan of Glitch's shows like Murder Drones. Not because they're bad by any means, but just because I couldn't really get into them. So you might be wondering why I chose to watch this considering that. Well, it all came down to just how fast this show has gotten popular. No really, it gained nearly 20 million views in just a week. That is gigantic, especially for an indie show. The only time I can recall something like this happening was with Has Been Hotel. And as I've already covered that show's sister show plenty of times, I thought I might as well give this one a try. After watching it, I can say clearly, I got no idea.
Hello, Kane. I love you.
Let's get out of here before the moon gets frisky.
What the hell is even that?
This pilot just left me confused with all honesty, because I've got no idea quite what to make of it. Okay, let me start off by saying I didn't hate it. Hell, I actually think the concept is rather genius. Taking a few ideas from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, this show is trippy and it's weird. Very, very, very weird. I actually really like the weirdness. The animation was fantastic and really benefited from the weirdness to help match the tone with a cute style opposed to the genuinely unnerving tone. Also, I just want to say, the cinematography in here is incredible. The way they manipulate the camera is so perfect, with experimenting with new angles and again matching the cinematography with the style to create a perfect feeling. However, I feel this show starts to lose me with its writing. First off, there's quite a few characters introduced, and for a pilot, you obviously want to introduce all your important characters, that's fair. But honestly, I feel like they could have used them a bit better here, as a lot of these characters don't really have anything to do, other than just tell the audience that they exist. Especially with Kinga and Zubul, as they contribute literally nothing to the narrative and kinda only exist so far to make jokes or fill in a character type. And if you were to cut them, I don't think you would notice their absence that much. And to some extent this can also be related to Jax, but his character serves a purpose to the story more than the other two, so I'll let him get a pass. And I know this is a pilot, so you won't be able to flesh everyone out, and that's understandable, but learning how to use your time well is also a very important skill to learn. So although it's not a very major problem, it's still something I hope the creators can improve on. And let me just clarify, because some people will genuinely not know this is not a meaningless hate video, just because it's popular, as I've seen a lot of people been doing recently, which is just incredibly pathetic. If you just hate on something just because it's popular without even giving it a chance, then that's just very pathetic. But rather, I'm trying to give this show some fair criticism to apply here, so that the creators can live and learn to make their creations even better. And arguably, you want to have the most criticisms for the pilot. After all, I see a lot of potential in this show, and I honestly hope it does really well because this only helps indie animation grow. And considering the huge amounts of unearthed talent that lies in the community, the more we shine a light on it, the better it is for everyone. Oh, and back to the characters. Pomni was actually really interesting. She's suddenly thrown in, and she's essentially a stand-in for the viewer, as we learn more about this place with her, really pulling us in a very effective way. But she shows she's more than that, as a really cool mystery is instantly thrown upon us in Pomni's introduction, and is later used to set up everything that will happen in the next episodes to come, with Pomni trying to do everything she can to escape this madness, while trying to not get caught by Kane. Kane himself is a bit of an oddball to me. His design is definitely great, and voice equally great. However, he arguably can feel just a little bit much at times, and that over-the-topness can kind of pull you out of the story for me. But considering this is just the pilot, I can forgive it, as I'm sure they will elaborate why he's like this and why he does what he does later on. However, probably my biggest criticism for this episode, and my main and last thing I'm going to complain about, is I don't see a need for the glitchy monsters. Yes, I understand it adds drama and tension, that these characters are at risk turning into beasts, but I feel that just arguably takes away from the tension rather than add to it. As for the type of terror that this show's trying to go for, it's more of what you leave to the viewer's imagination that's more effective. Think of it like this. The style of the Backrooms, essentially. The Backrooms are scary without needing any monsters. It's arguably the lack of any visible threat and yet it's so familiar yet alien locations that makes it scary, because then you're leaving to the people's imagination, leaving everyone to come up with their own conclusions but still achieve the same effect you wanted. It leaves so much more opportunity. After all, when everyone just sees these empty rooms that look familiar yet different at the same time, that's what gets people more scared than just throwing in a monster. Because then you're leaving people to their imagination. So with the inclusion of monsters, it kind of feels like that is trying too hard to come off as scary, when really it doesn't need to. So I hope the creators hold back more on the glitching and rather focus on the subliminal spaces and the more psychological horror to set up the tension, rather than just having one big monster for the characters to defeat. So, in conclusion, I'm overall am very mixed towards this pilot. On one hand, its concept is very promising, with some great animation and some genuinely effective imagery and camera work, but on the other hand, there's a bit too much going on here, that it's hard to get invested in it, as there's a lot going on and it's not all the same quality as the rest. However, I'm not opposed to watching more. After all, it's still a pilot, and a show should have most of its problems in the pilot, as that's the one episode where they genuinely have a reason to not be as great as they will be later on, as they're still trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. So, honestly, I recommend it in the end. It's already garnering a large audience who wants to see more, and I can't wait to see how they're going to move forward with it. Will it rise to the occasion, or will it fall and shatter? I don't have those answers, but I will be here to explain why it did or didn't in the near future. I'm the Pink King, and I will see you all next time.